expand the texture. In Helsinki, air raid sirens wail as bombs fall. Civilians scramble to shelters, faces pale in the glow of flares. Soviet pilots high above feel the thrill of unchallenged skies, but ground troops slog through blizzards, frostbite gnawing at toes in inadequate boots. Meetings in the Kremlin. Stalin pores over reports, vodka glasses clinking, generals nodding assent to flawed plans. Society under war. Finnish women knit white camouflage suits, men drill with outdated rifles, a nation united in quiet fury. Propaganda on both sides. Finns dub petrol bombs Molotov cocktails, a bitter toast to the minister's lies. The alliance with Germany buys time, but shadows creep. Hitler's eyes on the east, noting Soviet stumbles. What it felt like, the heady rush of expansion, the belief that numbers alone conquer all. Public demonstrations in Leningrad rally support, crowds chanting under searchlights, unaware of the meat grinder ahead. Cracks appear, faint at first, like ice splintering under weight. December 1939, the advance stalls. At Suomussalmi, Soviet divisions stretch thin along roads, vulnerable in the deep snow. Finnish skis whisper through trees. Mahdi tactics unfold, encircling invaders in pockets, cutting supply lines. Fading voices cry out in Russian, "Comrades, hold the line!" But betrayal lurks within. Purges have gutted command. Inexperienced officers bark orders into the void. Stalin's rage boils in Moscow. Reports of frozen corpses pile up, equipment failing in 40 degrees. Disillusionment sets in. Soldiers huddle around meager fires, dreaming of home, as Finnish snipers pick them off one by one. Strategic errors compound. Massed infantry charges into machine guns, tanks isolated without support. Emotional unraveling, a general whispers to aides. "We were told it would be over by Christmas." Historically accurate dialogue pierces the air. Stalin, in a heated meeting, growls, "The whole world is watching us. Our prestige is at stake." Molotov stone-faced, cables demands unmet. On the Finnish side, Marshal Mannerheim rallies troops. "We fight for our homes, our freedom, no surrender." Crumbling buildings in bombed Viipuri, smoke rising like defeated spirits. The dream fractures, leaders pacing empty rooms, shadows swallowing their grand illusions. In silence, the truth finally spoke. Deepen the fall. Battles rage. Kola holds against odds. Finns whispering, "The enemy is behind us." But we are behind the enemy. Soviet losses mount. 163rd Division annihilated. Bodies stacked like cordwood. Psychological toll. Red Army morale plummets. Desertions whispered in trenches. Betrayal feels personal. Stalin purges more, blaming subordinates for his oversight. Small details. Jammed rifles in cold. Hunger gnawing as supplies freeze. What it felt like. The sting of hubris turning to despair. Pride curdling into doubt. Leaders unravel. Stalin's pipe smokes furiously. Maps torn in frustration. 3 dialogues anchor reality. A Soviet soldier mutters, "This isn't war, it's suicide." Mannerheim to his staff, "Hold the line. Our Sisu will outlast their steel." Stalin, in reflection, "We underestimated the Finns' resolve." The empire he built was now his prison. Cracks widening into chasms. February 1940, the breakthrough comes at a cost. Massive artillery barrages pulverize the Mannerheim line, Soviet waves crashing through in blood-soaked snow. Ruins smoke under gray skies. Empty offices in Helsinki echo with hurried evacuations. Silent radios crackle with static, abandoned battlefields littered with twisted metal and frozen forms. The full breakdown. Peace talks in Moscow. Finland cedes land but stands unbroken. Symbolic imagery. Ruined bunkers half buried in drifts, a lone flag fluttering tattered in wind, empty thrones of power. Internal reflection. Stalin stares into mirrors, realizing too late the Red Army's frailty, purges poison. What was grasped in ambition slips away, lessons etched in casualties. The collapse reverberates, Finland's independence preserved, but scars deepen. Dark, poetic narration. In the ashes of winter, power's illusion shattered. Pride's echo faded into silence. Destiny, once a loyal ally, turned traitor in the snow. Consequences unfold. Hitler's gaze sharpens, Barbarossa's seeds sown in perceived weakness. Reforms sweep the USSR, stealing it for greater trials. Finland's legacy, a beacon of resistance. Sisu immortalized in history's shadows and in the quiet aftermath. A single reflective paragraph echoes through time. The Winter War, that frozen crucible, revealed the fragility of giants and the strength of the steadfast. Stalin's realization on that fateful day that Finland wouldn't break rippled across continents, emboldening aggressors and forging legends. In the end, it wasn't just land lost or gained, but the human spirit tested, bent yet enduring. A whisper in the wind warning of war's true cost. Where ambition meets its icy grave. Subscribe for more forgotten stories of World War II, where power, pride, and destiny collide in the shadows of history. November 30th, 1939, the day Stalin knew Finland wouldn't break. The air hangs heavy with frost, biting into lungs like shards of glass. November 30th, 1939, the Karelian Isthmus trembles under the thunder of Soviet guns. Shells scream across the border, slamming into Finnish soil as if the earth itself recoils in pain. In the dim dawn light, Red Army soldiers huddle in their thin coats, breath clouding like ghosts in the sub-zero wind. Boots echo on frozen ground, a relentless march toward what they believe will be swift conquest. But silence answers back, eerie, unbroken, save for the distant howl of wind through pines. The first shot rings out, sharp and final. Blood stains the snow. Chaos erupts. Tanks grind to a halt, mired in drifts they weren't prepared for. Smoke billows from improvised explosives, the acrid scent mixing with pine sap and fear. The viewer is there, pulse racing, as the myth of invincibility cracks in the cold. But fate had other plans. In the shadowed halls of the Kremlin, Joseph Stalin paces like a caged wolf, his pipe smoke curling into the dim lamplight. The year is 1939 and the world teeters on the edge of abyss. Fresh from the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, that unholy marriage of convenience with Hitler's Germany, Stalin's eyes turn northward. Finland, that stubborn sliver of independence, once part of the Tsar's empire, now stands as a thorn in his grand vision. He dreams of buffers against the fascist tide, of securing Leningrad's flanks with Karelian land swaps and naval bases. Pride swells in his chest. The Red Army, vast and mechanized, forged in revolution, will crush this bourgeois holdout in days, perhaps weeks. Propaganda machines churn. Posters of heroic workers. Radio broadcasts proclaiming the liberation of Finnish comrades from capitalist chains. Society under the Soviet banner hums with forced optimism. Purges having silenced doubters, leaving only echoes of loyalty. Yet blindness creeps in. Stalin, scarred by paranoia, ignores the whispers of winter's wrath, the Finnish spirit hardened by centuries of survival. Early influences, Lenin's promises of self-determination, twist into imperial hunger. The political climate crackles with tension. Europe ignites as Germany swallows Poland, and Stalin believes destiny favors the bold. In his mind, Finland's refusal to bend is mere posturing, a fleeting illusion before the inevitable. The empire he built pulses with unyielding faith, but in the quiet of his study, maps unfurled under flickering bulbs. He cannot see the storm brewing in the snow. The dream takes root in the societal soil of the USSR, where collectivization has reshaped lives into cogs of progress. Peasants turned soldiers march with rifles shouldered, believing in the proletarian cause. Propaganda films flicker in dimly lit halls, showing triumphant parades, ignoring the famines that scarred the land. Finland, meanwhile, clings to its young democracy, born from 1917's chaos, its people infused with sisu, that untranslatable grit, a belief in freedom forged in saunas and forests. Stalin's ambition blinds him to this, to the psychological fire burning in every Finnish heart. What it felt like, the intoxicating rush of power, the certainty that history bends to the will of the strong. But beneath the surface, doubts flicker like candle flames in the wind. Early border skirmishes, rejected demands at negotiations in Moscow, where Foreign Minister Molotov's cold stare meets Finnish envoys' unyielding resolve. The air thick with unspoken threats, cigars smoldering. Stalin's belief, unbreakable. Yet the coming disaster looms, invisible in the haze of hubris. Alliances form in the shadows, seductive as a siren's call. August 1939. The pact is signed in Moscow, Ribbentrop's pen scratching alongside Molotov's, dividing Europe like a carcass. Light streams through grand windows onto smiling faces, but shadows lengthen across the table. Germany takes the west, Soviets the east, including influence over Finland. Crowds in Berlin cheer Hitler's speeches, swastikas fluttering in the breeze, while in Red Square, banners proclaim eternal friendship. The power intoxicates, early victories roll in. Soviets annex the Baltics with barely a whisper, puppet regimes installed under the guise of protection. Now Finland's turn. November 26th. The shelling at Mainila, a staged provocation. Soviet artillery fires on its own troops, blaming Finns for the spark. Invasion follows. 500,000 Red Army men surging across borders, tanks gleaming under pale sun, aircraft droning overhead. Initial thrusts. Petrozavodsk falls, advances on the isthmus push Finnish lines. Ceremonies in occupied zones, red flags hoisted, speeches echoing of brotherhood. Light versus shadow, triumphant marches in sunlight. But in the forests, darkness swallows columns whole. Propaganda swells, newspapers trumpet quick wins, radios blare anthems of glory. Pivotal events weave tension. The League of Nations expels the USSR, a hollow rebuke amid the cheers. Stalin's control seems absolute, alliances binding like iron chains. Yet cinematic tension builds. Close-ups on Finnish scouts skiing silently, shadows dancing on snow as they prepare ambushes. The rise feels unstoppable, a wave cresting toward inevitable dominance.